Hey, hello again, whiskey friends. Thanks for joining me today, everybody. For today's show, we have another Tuesday whiskey discussion. Do these type of discussion topics every Tuesday. So if you like this content, hey, be sure to come back. Now, a lot of the times, this content is generated directly from questions, getting them on Instagram, getting them on YouTube, getting them through all the different channels, getting them on Facebook. So if you do have a question, hey, bring it up in the comments. Let me know what's on your mind. Maybe it inspires one of these videos for a future Tuesday. For today's video, the question I received was asking me how many nights out of the week that I'm drinking whiskey. And I think it's a pretty valid question. When I first saw it, I was like, man, I don't know if I want to respond or not. But no, let's be honest about it. Let's break it down. Let's have some dialogue about it. I think it's an important thing to be mindful of. And there are strategies to mitigate things or to balance things out. But I'll tell you all about my experiences and how much I'm drinking during the week or how often I'm drinking. And let's have just an open conversation about it. Chance for reflection. Think about what you're doing. You make your own choices, but man, I'll tell you how I'm navigating this thing, especially before and after this dang channel. So thank you for joining me today, everybody. Let's kick off the show. All right. Now, for today's whiskey discussion, I'm going to be drinking something that was like one of my favorite pours last year, the Four Gate Port Perry Perry. I have not been dipping into this cabinet behind me too often here, so this is a good excuse. But it does lead into the first strategy. Learned this one from my friend Bourbon over at Whiskey Uncensored. Man, these Wee Glens, these can help you out, man. Look at this. Wee Glen, regular Glen. I don't just have very huge hands. That is a mini Glen. But this can be a mitigation strategy for some of the things I'm about to say. And I do see people using these because guess what? You're going to fill this thing up. I mean, look at that little nip there. If I were to pour that same amount in here, you can see that it's barely nothing. And if I took a different glass, I mean, come on. If you had this glass, would you pour just that much? The glasses make a huge difference in this. So when we are talking about how many nights of the week that you drink, hey, there are mitigation strategies to this. And this feels like a satisfying pour, despite the fact it's just in this mini Glen, A little bit of an optical illusion. You can still nose it too. It's got a very good nosing out of these mini Glens. So cheers, everybody. But I just did want to bring up the point because the way the question was framed was how many nights in the week am I drinking? Not necessarily volume. How many nights? Well, you can trick things a little bit. But let's start out before I started this channel with Kelsey and Darrell. I was really, really trying hard to limit my drinking to only the weekends. Oh, man, ideally just 2 days in the weekend if I could. And I did that through most of the summer. This past summer, I was successful at that. I was only drinking during those days. So the drinking was down. And I was probably the healthiest I've been in a long time. And if nothing, I mean, I guess there's different ways to measure health. I was consistently able to maintain my weight over the longest period of time this summer, where I didn't have a whole lot of variation in my pounds. I was essentially kind of locked in 3 to 4 to 5 pound area. It's walking all the time. It was nice and warm in the summer in Ohio. Then it turns to winter. Man, I just don't move at all. I hate going outside during the winter. And that does correspond then with the creation of this channel. So created it, gosh, what was it? Back in September. didn't have too much warm weather, start turning cold come October, November, and movement goes down. Start drinking more whiskey to do these whiskey reviews, to do the content. But ultimately, still try to limit things to the weekends and now Wednesdays. That's it. Try to dedicate it there. Take days off where I can. Now, I am human. Some days are stressful. Some days are a Tuesday and just didn't go right. And I go and I have a drink and I supplement it with that way. So yes, there are more days in the week that I may drink any given week, but man, if I could keep it ideal, 3 days a week, because ultimately, as I was saying up front there, this summer I was really successful maintaining weight. When I am drinking more often, that becomes so much more difficult. There is so much more fluctuation, so much more retained water, so much more inflammation to deal with, so much more just trying to burn the calories off. It ain't working the same way, especially when you put that with Ohio winters and moving less. So that's a bad strategy there. But that's the weird thing that I think has occurred because of the creation of the channel. It did change my habits because we're creating the content, got to create the content. So then that adds a day where wasn't drinking prior, but now getting some drinks in to create the content. It didn't just change habits, though, in terms of the number of days a week that alcohol is being consumed. It did change the way that alcohol is consumed in general, because man, it is a different experience just enjoying something to enjoy something versus versus tasting something and constantly reviewing it and breaking it down and thinking about it and spending an hour with a glass and recording all the scores and then recording the videos and tasting it a few times before we record the scores to make sure I got a good view on it. That's actually why I'm drinking the Port Perry Perry right now, because I kind of feel like more and more I'm not drinking for my own enjoyment, more so for the content of the channel. And maybe I feel that way as I've been exploring all like the $20, $30 bourbons. It's been a really good experience. Feel like I've actually learned quite a lot off of the last couple weeks worth of content. But at the same time, I'm not gravitating towards things that I might have gravitated to before. It's just changed my habits entirely. And that's not something that I entirely recognized would happen when we set out on this adventure. That the day of the week would increase on how many nights, alcohol is being consumed. But this in general, how it's being consumed and what's being consumed and why it's being consumed, all those things kind of changed. So my point of bringing that up is answer is different depending when you ask the question. Now, I am hoping come summer, hey, hopefully I can go back to just 2 nights a week, get fit, get lean again, get some good, get the summer weight going. I'm hoping to do that again. This has actually been my most successful winter maintaining weight in general. So something about the balance is working right now. Just need to keep that up. But visually, I will say a good trick is using these weak lens. You will still feel like you're having a dram, but you are drinking less. So going back to that original point, the question was about how many nights in a week. Man, it's really about the volume and the ounces. This is a good way to control that volume and the ounces. God, that Port Perry Perry is so good. Oh, I love that whiskey. So that answers the question, at least. All human, having a dram a night, it happens. But just be as responsible as you can about it. Maintain your health. Do what you can to have healthy habits. And that's about as much as you can do. Everything else is just, hey, enjoy life while we're here as well, right? That's kind of the point. So thank you for joining me today, everybody. If you've got a whiskey question for a future episode, put it in the comments here. Give me some inspiration. I really appreciate that. But until the next time, the next whiskey discussion, I'll catch you later, whiskey friends. Bye, everybody.
Jeff, just be friends with me. But you have these whiskey friends, and you say hello again. Oh, Jeffrey, you just be friends with me. But you have these whiskey friends, and you say hello again. Oh, Jeffrey, you should just be friends with me. But you have these whiskey friends, and you say hello